Shin Kamen Rider features a different take on Shocker, the organization that sought world domination. The acronym stands for Sustainable Happiness Organization, with computational knowledge embedded remodeling. Shocker's motto is, "If you want to be happy, be," a quote by Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy. The late author believed that happiness was a choice, and not a state of mind. The organization contains two factions, the Faust faction, also known as the Founding faction, as well as the Despair faction, the part of the organization that was featured heavily in Shin Kamen Rider. In 1995, the Faust Robotics Research Laboratory was a venture founded by professors from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The company wanted to create a machine that would use AI, or artificial intelligence, to convert brain activity into data, in the hopes that it would allow them to control people and creatures. The company was funded by investors such as DARPA, but unfortunately, their efforts did not get the results they wanted, and Faust was in danger of losing its funding. That's when Daiso Ishigami of Japan's Ishigami Group stepped in and saved the company. Ishigami saw the power of MIT's AI technology and how it was key to mankind's future. He not only bought out the company, but funded Faust's research that led to the birth of I and the creation of Shocker. I is an artificial intelligence that currently oversees all of Shocker's activities. It has continued to evolve since its birth, possessing an intellect far surpassing human knowledge. Perhaps for security reasons, it is cut off entirely from the rest of the world. In order to observe humanity, it created J, an AI-equipped android, and then K, J's successor. Despite overseeing all of Shocker, 8 keys are required to communicate with the all-knowing artificial intelligence. These keys are possessed by different important figures in the organization. Shortly after K is born, I receives one last directive by Shocker's founder, to lead humanity to happiness. It came to the conclusion that true happiness does not lie in the joy of the many, but in the despair of the few. Despite Ishigami's last request, I has allowed the two factions to seek happiness through their own accord, with no clear leader leading the organization. On the surface, the Faust Foundation specializes in brain-machine interface and robotics, but underneath the facade, they focus their efforts on developing military weapons, selling them to powerful governments such as the United States, trafficking humans, and other methods to obtain large sums of money to further their own objectives. Their methods go against the founder's idea of happiness, something the Despair faction holds dear. The Despair faction is led by Ivan or Iwan, official organization pending. He recruits people who have experienced a very tragic event in their life. He recruits Professor Hiroshi Midorikawa from the Faust Foundation, who has since concentrated his research on prana shortly after his wife died, right after being stabbed in a random killing. Midorikawa also brings with him his son, Ichiro, to Shocker, in hopes that his son's intellectual prowess would allow him to further his research on prana one day. While the Faust faction and Despair faction coexisted, tensions began to rise between them without a clear leader to make calls. The Despair faction enhanced two humans, one calling himself Spider and the other calling herself Scorpion. Together, they were deployed to Faust's secret facilities in order to destroy their resources, such as their military bases and their human trafficking lines. Clark, an executive of Faust, sends one of his men to kidnap Midorikawa and his son, in hopes of persuading him by violent means to obtain one of the keys to talk to I. Spider and Scorpion are sent to rescue them, but Ichiro is shot during the mission. Midorikawa implants prana into Ichiro, which saves his son's life and even enhances his body. The breakthrough in Midorikawa's research becomes the catalyst for Ivan to stage a coup against the Faust faction. The Grim Reaper utilizes Midorikawa's research on prana and neurotechnology, and creates Shocker combatants out of volunteers. Spider also goes through augmentation and is implanted with prana. He now dubs himself Spider Augment 01. Spider joins up with Scorpion and Ichiro in the takedown of Faust's base. Herman, one of Faust's executives, sends guardians, androids possessing strength beyond Scorpion and Ichiro, but Spider easily overpowers the new androids. The newly augmented fighter nearly kills Herman, but Ichiro intervenes just in time to calm Spider down. Ichiro also experiences a new power of his that allows him to read Spider's mind. Having successfully taken over Faust, Shocker's Japan branch enjoys a bit of peace. Midorikawa concentrates his efforts on improving Shocker's mind control technology in order to preserve the host's personality. Meanwhile, Ichiro experiences a growth spurt because of his prana, and develops a new suit that will allow him to store prana into a belt via cartridges, which would enhance the combat abilities of his suit. One of Shocker's researchers got into an accident with their family, and only their daughter survived, but with brain damage. Midorikawa takes her in and implants mechanized parts into her head, and even gives her false memories of being in the Midorikawa family. Her name, Ruriko. The US branch has developed its own AI called Kai, This AI was originally created as a backup in case I would go out of control. Wolfson of the US branch wants to use Kai's alignment ability to control behavioral change in governments and the public opinion. Kai hears of this and tells I not to give Wolfson any more power.